Hello, and welcome to Part 2, Option Pricing in Greeks 102. We're going to answer questions 4, 5, and 6 now. You can see an example of the questions in front of you. You should have your own copies. Okay, question 4 talks about an Apple call. So we will look and find the security Apple. The autocomplete leads me to the ticker AAPL, and then I'm going to use the autocomplete to find the option calculator, OVME. Okay, now in the question it talks about the option having a strike of 100, it talks about having 90 days to expiry, it talks about an interest rate of 1%, a dividend yield of 0%, and a forecasted volatility of 24%. And the underlying stock is at 100. Okay, so I have entered all of my inputs, and my output is an option price of 4.87, which has a delta of 0.53 and has a gamma of 0.03, just like the question says. Now the question A is what price would the call option be if the underlying moves to 100 spot 1. So here there is a 10-cent rally, so the underlying goes to 100.1. So this 4.87 option goes to 4.92 is the cost of the option. And then notice that when we are at the price of 100 spot 1, the delta is no longer 0.53, the delta has jumped to 0.54. Let's think about that for a moment. The share price has gone up, so now this is an in-the-money option because the strike didn't change. The strike remains at $100, but because the underlying's gone up, this is now a situation where the call option is 0.1% in the money. It therefore has a higher delta than when it was an at the money option, when it had a delta of 0.53. A more extreme example of that would be if the market rallied to $110, so this is now almost a 10% in the money option, the delta will be 0.81. So it's getting close to moving like a stock now, 80% of the speed of a stock. So let's go back to the example. The investor is buying this call at 4.87. What is the break-even price for this purchase? Now, before we get our calculators out, let's visualize this. Let's look at the Scenario tab. Let's uncheck the prior to expiry dates. And I've left checked on only the expiry date. Notice I also have unchecked the probability. I'm going to lower the range to say $85 to $120 that I'm looking at on my x-axis, $85 to $120. And now I can see a number of things. I can see that the scenario chart tells me that the break-even is 104.87, which is this point here where it crosses. And I can also see that the loss, which is the cost of buying the option, is 4.87, as you would imagine. That's the cost of buying the option. So you can see from the hockey stick that when the strike kicks in at 100, every cent that the underlying rally is more than 100, we are making a profit on our option, but because it cost us $4.87 to buy it in the first place, we need a rally of $4.87 to break even. Hence the break even is 104.87. If the market rallies to 115, there have been $15 of movement, which would be profit 1 for 1 because the call is acting like a stock at expiry when exercised, but we have to subtract that entry price. Consequently, the profit at 115 is the $4.88 less than than $15. You'll see this in a moment on the calculator. Finally, what is the profit loss if the stock falls to 80? Well, when the stock falls to 80, you're only going to lose your initial investment of buying the call. You can't lose any more than that. Unlike a stock position, where if you had a stock position, the loss would be carrying on down like this. Okay, so let's just have a look at that on the calculator. This is a function called HC, hand calculator on Bloomberg. Here is the break-even, $100 strike, plus it needs to rally the cost of the option, 487, gives me my break-even of 104.87. Here is my profit at $115. $115 minus the starting level of 100. Subtract the cost, the entry ticket price, the cost of the option, gives me 10.13 profit. And here is my loss, 80 minus 100, which is minus 20, minus another 4.87. That's a loss of 24.87. No, it's not. I only lose the 4.87. So in fact, I only lose the premium, and my loss for a fall is quite simply 4.87. Okay? Question 6 is, the investor decides to use a strategy, so I'm going to go back to the tab 31 for pricing. The investor decides to use a strategy called a call spread instead, and wishes to use 105 call, same expiry, with a price of 323 and a volatility forecasted of 26%, rates 1%, yield 0%. So let's do this. Let's add a leg, and this leg is going to be 105 strike call. It has a, notice that this number changed as well. I'm just going to put both of these back. That's a 24 volatility. This is a 26 volatility. Both the rates are 1%. Both the dividend yields are 0%. They both are 90-day expiry. This is a 105 strike. This is a 100 strike. Okay. Question part A. Explain how the options are combined in this bullish call spread. Well, to make a bullish call spread, you buy the lower call, but you help finance yourself by selling the higher call. So we now have a bullish call spread. What is the cost of the strategy? Well, this call I bought at a price of 487. This call I sold at a price of 323. So my cost is 4.87. Subtract 323, which is a cost of 1.64. That's the cost of my strategy. What is the break-even of the strategy? Well, I need the stock to rally from its starting point of 100, a level of 1.64, and then I've paid for my strategy, and then I can start making money. So the break-even is 101.64. What is the maximum profit of this strategy? Well, the most I can make, and let's go to the scenario tab here. The most I can make is a $5 jump subtracted my costs, and the $5 jump would be possible because I'm giving myself upside exposure between the strike of 100 and the strike of 105, so that's the $5, but because I had to pay $1.64 to put the strategy on, that's going to give me my maximum profit. Last, part E, at what underlying price does the maximum profit occur? Trick question. It first occurs at $105, the upper strike, but occurs any level above that because I have capped out my maximum profit. A quick look at the calculation page shows you the number crunching to do that as well. There was my cost of 487 for the 100 strike call, 323 I received selling the 105 strike call, 164. Here's my break even, 100 where the stock is now. It needs to rally the cost of my strategy, 101.64 is my break even. Here, the 5 represents the difference between strikes, the 105 to the 100 strike, minus the cost of my strategy. That's my maximum profit, 3.36. That concludes part 2 of the options pricing in Greeks. Thank you.